Hello everyone. Welcome to Codex Tech Rust Learning video blog. From today we will start a new series and that is about building a to-do app in Rust and using WASM WebAssembly. S- Um, so this video idea is actually taken from another YouTuber, Brooks Build, and I will provide the link to his YouTube video series about this to-do app um, in the description below. His video series was long and very detailed. I believe 70 or 80 episodes or parts. But he was using Vue framework in Rust for building this WASM app, and it is very detailed. I would encourage you if you are interested in learning, like not just how the Rust is used, but overall um, testing framework and other good practices. It is worth watching his videos. He has covered how the testing framework is used while building the app, and then actually diving into the U framework to build the whole app. His video is more about live coding kind of thing, where I'm sure, I believe he has already a lot of experience with Rust, so he was just live coding and that's how he was building the solution, and it took him those 80 videos. I don't think they all are like an hour length. Some of them were like only 15-20 minutes long. But since I am just learning Rust and experimenting with different WASM frameworks, so I will not be going into those kind of details as he covered like while he's coding. uh, it took me, I believe it took me longer, a lot longer than it might have taken him to build, because I'm new to Rust and the whole WASM thing. So the way I will be covering this one is I have already created this app. I will probably have only 3 or 4 part series where I will go over the things that I have learned while moving from pure Rust, that was all the previous videos, and moving towards a WASM application. What are the things that I have learned, and any tips that I can share. So although going back to his video, so it covered building the WASM, and he already had a backend built in Node.js, I believe, that serves the to-do app, and I might be wrong, but I think he's using some sort of a database behind the scenes to either it is just a file-based database, not like an actual database server, but he is storing the values as well. But my goal in this 3 or 4 part series for To-Do app is going from Rust to now a front-end framework. So I will not build a backend API. I will mimic interaction between the front end and the back end using services, but there will not be any backend API. It's pure Rust and the WASM framework. It's not about the best practices about software engineering or testing and all those things. It's just the next step in my learning journey. I will be using Dioxus WASM framework instead of using U. So if you are interested in U, you can watch his series. U seems to be the most mature WASM framework, but I have decided to use Dioxus because of 2 reasons. One was that it seems like from the project goal that it will be more about different platform implementation. It's not just going to be a WASM app, but also support for mobile applications as well, so cross-platform, not just Windows and Linux and Mac, but also the mobile apps. So I am hoping this will become something like Flutter if anyone uses Dart and Google um, ecosystem, or Blazor, and I believe in the .NET they also have a Moi framework that is coming out. So I'm hoping this will um, be similar to those two frameworks. So whatever learning I do here, it will be useful for me in future to build cross-platform and even the mobile apps. So that's the reason for picking up Dioxus. Uh, I I think it's not as mature as you when I was looking at the documentation, and things are still maturing, things are being implemented, and there is not a lot of contents out there. So hopefully this video will also serve that purpose as well. So there will be um, one more reference for people if they are interested in Dioxys. Um, I will use Tailwind CSS in this project, but I will not be trying to use it the way it's supposed to be, like the best possible way, because I believe the whole idea of Tailwind CSS is that you include whatever the classes you need at the build time. But in this project, since my focus is mostly Rust and Dioxus, so Tailwind, I'll just use their CDN, which is kind of like cheating. So it includes everything, but I mean, it's not a production app, so I don't really care. So that's the background and the whole scope of this one. So now before we dive into the code, um, I will first show that how this app will look like once if you get the code from my GitLab. I'll share the link in the description below. That's the complete implementation of this to-do app, so you can just download and run it. So I will just first go over that how does it look like in the browser. So this is how the app will look when you launch it the um, first time. Um, so we have the title on the top, create to do, and then you can create an account and you can log in. As I mentioned that I'm not creating a backend right now, but in actual app, the idea would be that when you create an account or login, it will hit some backend API, and that will connect to database, and the whole OAuth or whatever mechanism we want to use for authentication, authorization, that will be used from that point on. In future, next video series, I will build some backend API, and I'm planning to use the XM Rust framework, and probably I will use the MongoDB Atlas, so I don't have to install it on my local machine. Um, I have looked into the new Rust Surreal DB, so maybe in some future learning series I will cover that one, but for now I will stick to MongoDB and XM for future videos in the projects to see the backend API. But in this project, there is no backend API. So when I click the login or create account, everything is just happening within this Dioxus app, this WASM application. Nothing will be saved. It will be in memory. So let's just start with the login. So login, so this is hard coded. I have one specific user test created. And all this styling that you see here is all done by the Tailwind CSS. I kind of like Tailwind. I have mostly worked on the .NET technologies and some front-end JavaScript frameworks like Angular or a little bit on React and some Bootstrap. So Tailwind seems pretty good. Like it was so easy to create all these styles and hover. And actually, I have also added the um, dark mode for this website as well because it was so easy, like just adding some CSS classes and it just makes it happen for you. So anyways, so we just log in and then it shows briefly the loading. So I have added some delay just to make it feel like it is actually connecting to the server, but all of this is happening in memory, so there's no delay actually. So once you log in on the home page, you will see the list of all the tasks that are available, and you can see your name, username that you have used for login, and there's an add button to add a new task. If you click on a task, it will show you the details, like what's the task title, what's the status, is complete or not, what is the priority, and a description. You can go back to the home page, and next one, if I go complete, it shows this X or cross sign. That means it's not completed, and it can show the priority. If you click edit, it will open the task in edit mode, so you can change the title, mark it complete, etc. You can cancel and go back to the home page. If you click add, it will show the same form, but everything is blanked out. Another feature is add, edit, so delete. So if you say delete, it will show you the browser-based alert or the confirmation dialog. So that's also something I have used besides the Dioxus web framework. I'm using Glue library. So we'll look at the cargo.toml files and we can go over like all the different libraries that are being used in this project. And as I said, since this is all clients have. So even if I delete this task and say, okay, task is gone, but if I like refresh it again, since there is no server communication, so the task will be back again. So all these deletes, everything is happening on the client side. So let's jump into looking at some of the code. So first, I will, I guess, go over the library that I used, and then we can uh, go over the folder structure. So this app I'm using Trunk. Um, I will add link to the Dioxus website as well, which goes over how to set up the library on your local machine and installing the trunk. So we are using trunk to launch the application. So trunk serve is the command. Once you run it, it will build your Dioxus app, and then it launch it on port 8080, as I just showed in the browser. Next is looking at the package, all the packages in the cargo.toml file. So if you see Dioxus, of course, this is the important one that we are using. Um, so this is Dioxus that is being used, and I'm using Chrono. So this was used for getting the time, displaying the time or getting time from the local machine. So this is when we complete the task. We have to record like what time it was marked as completed. So Chrono is used for that, but major is Dioxus. So I'm using Dioxus 0.2.4, and we have to make sure that we add the features as web, because by default, I believe there's the desktop that comes in, and we don't want the full because I'm not building for the desktop application. So web And then we are also bringing in the router, and Fermi is also part of Dioxus project, but it helps with state sharing. So I believe looking at the documentation, the way they compare it with React is like Redux. So this is for the state management. I have used in this project, but I mean it was not really required because this project is not complex for state management, but still it does help. Next, I'm using Glue. So Glue is a Rust project that brings the JavaScript capabilities, so you can use the console.log, for instance. So it will show in the log under the when you have the developer tools open in the browser, and also as I was showing the confirmation dialog from the browser, and this also provides libraries to add any JavaScript or on the browser side delay in the task. Uh, because server side Rust delay will not work here. You need the client side because it's running in the browser. And the next one is the stylus. I didn't use it as much, but it was used in the U project that I was referring to. Stylist has much better integration with U, and again, I believe because U is much more mature framework compared to Dioxus. But I was able to use a stylist in this project, so that helps you to implement component in the same style as, for instance, you might be implementing in Angular or React, where you can have its styles attached to each component. So instead of having, generic CSS file in your project, so that this is really helpful. I probably will use in project in future as well, but we'll see. So that is the cargo toml file. So these are all the projects that I have, all the packages or the crates that I'm using. Now jumping into the next thing about the folder structure in this project, and that will be the last topic because this video is already 17-18 minute long. So last thing I'll cover in this episode or this part is just the folder structure, and then we'll dive into the code starting the next in the next part. So folder structure, I followed similar steps as it is used in the Dioxus, sorry, in the U um, video that I'm referring to in this project. So the idea is to use atomic folder structure, and I think it is used mostly in the React world. So you create components in different folders like atoms, molecules, organisms, and pages. And I think there is one more, templates. I did not use templates in this one. So these are the project that I use. So atoms are the smallest items in this structure, smallest component. So it could be just a text box. So a text box or a button that you want to create and that will be shared across your project for building different things. Although I have used atoms in this project, but I think in real life it would make more sense to have this thing created as a shared library outside your project, so it is used by not just your project, but multiple projects can use these basic building blocks. So these are very simple, just a text box. Maybe you have a styling about, the borders of the text box, the text size that you want to use in multiple applications for your company or for your projects. So that's what the atoms is. Molecules is molecules is then the next higher level up abstraction or the organization, where you will combine one or more atoms to create a molecule. So it could be for instance, if it is search, so it could be a text box and a search button. So search, a text box and button is an atom, separate two atoms, but you can combine them and call, let's say, search area. So that will become a molecule. So this one is used a little bit in this project, but that in some cases I believe this can also be added to some of the um, shared libraries in the project. For instance, maybe building tab or something. So it will be reusable across multiple projects. And organisms is where I have seen most use, at least in this project. So atoms could be in the shared library, molecules, some of them could be in the shared library. But organism is where you start now combining different molecules. For instance, it could be the search page where you have the molecule of the search that shows a text box and the button. But now once you click the button, you also have to show a grid or a table for the search result. So now that will become an organism where you will combine multiple molecules. So this is the structure, and page is then the whole page that may have header, nav bar, then the search results, footer, all that could be the whole page. Um, just to quickly look at it, so atoms, as you can see, we have button, links, select will be like a list box, and then you have text input. So these are the atoms that I created for this project. Molecules, account form. So this is for add or account form to account form to create a new account if you want to register. I showed login only, but there was a register button as well. And task added button. So this one shows different buttons that were used for added, etc. So we'll go over all these details later on too. It's like add, added, delete. So these are shown on the top. So we have atoms were the buttons, and now we combine those three buttons as I was showing in the browser before on the top. So it will show add, edit, and delete, and we hide and show them based on where we are in the project. So that was atom, molecule. For these are the three molecules that I have created. We'll look at the code in detail right now. It's just about the folder structure. Then organisms, so navbar and the tasks. So these are the organisms that I've created. And if you look at the pages, so create account, there's a page, there's an added task page, home, login, all these are different pages. So I will try to go on each of these files in the next few episodes. We may not dive into each line of code in those files, but I'll try to just briefly go over um, on each of these files. So this is it for this first part of ToDo app. So we went over details what technologies for WASM. We are using Dioxus that I mentioned. We are using some CSS. All is client side. We are not using any backend. In the next episode or in the next part of this video series, we can start looking at some of the code uh, and some of the findings that some of the learning that I made while I was using this Dioxus framework. And yeah, I'll provide all the links in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.